Hey everybody, I'm Amos. This is the Nordstrand Audio Acinonyx. This little beast is a unique combination of mid-60s pawn shop weirdness and modern-day player-friendly engineering. Auspicious meeting of the minds, the cat bass, as it is also known, made a big splash when it debuted at NAMM in 2019 and is quickly gaining favor with some of the heavy hitters of the bass world. Like everything worth talking about these days, this comes with an origin story. Meet Juan Alderete. He created the Pedals and Effects website, he's played bass for Marilyn Manson and the Mars Volta, and he's an awesome guy and he loves weird things. Meet Kerry Nordstrand, the face of Nordstrand Audio. He's been a luthier forever and he makes his own basses, pickups, preamps, and other stuff. One day, Juan is all, I found this weird mid-60s bass called a Goya Panther II. Check it out. And Kerry's like, hey, that sounds really cool, bring it over for a setup. And Juan's all, okay. And then they hang out and Kerry does a setup on the Panther and he's all, oh man, this is cool, but it has some major design flaws and the buttons are weird and the string trees don't work. I wonder if I could make like a good version of this thing. So that's what he did. Kerry takes everything that works about the Goya Panther II and adds a bunch of his own personal and modern touches to make a comfortable, functional, player-focused, short-scale vibe machine. Let's take a look at the specs. The cat bass features an alder body mated to a maple neck that's faced with an Indian rosewood fretboard that features a compound radius for better comfort. The scale length of the cat is listed at 780 millimeters, and if you're an American and don't like math, that works out to about 30.7 inches. The nut is just under 1.5 inches wide, and the string spacing is set at a cozy 17 millimeters as opposed to the more traditional 19. The cat is a true featherweight and tips the scales at 6.5 pounds. The bridge and tuners are both proprietary custom hipshot creations. It will probably not surprise you to learn that the chrome-covered single-coil pickups are made in-house at Kerry's shop in California. Let's talk about the pickup and tone controls on this thing for a second. This bank of buttons controls your pickup selection, and you can choose both, neck, bridge, or mute. Now these buttons are actually borrowed from an 1176 compressor, and like that piece of iconic gear, you can go all in, which actually puts the pickups in series and bumps the output quite a bit. I really like this tone, and this is the setting I was using on the piece at the beginning of this video. Tone is selected here with another 4 switches that bring up a flat EQ, a treble roll-off, a lot of treble roll-off, and a subtle mid-scoop. Master volume is controlled with this lone chicken head knob, and the bass I'm playing today is strung with flat wound strings. So when I first started hearing and reading about this bass, I had a feeling I was gonna like it, and I was right. One touch that I really appreciate is that they have a fellow named Mogami, who is a bass builder in his own right as well as a fabulous technician, set up and inspect each cat bass before it leaves the factory in California. And it felt great right out of the gig bag. I actually haven't touched the setup on this at all except to tune it just a little, and I mean, that's pretty impressive coming through the mail. Also, I just had to show you this case. I mean, look at this thing. I mean, the whole thing is kind of funny, isn't it? It's sort of lighthearted between the design of the headstock, this amazing sort of like 50s kitchen art deco vibe, and then you pick it up and it has this narrow spacing, this short scale, these light tension flats that are on it, and it really sort of does that cat thing where, you know, nuzzles up against you, he's like, come on, play with me. It's obvious that the construction has been fine-tuned and updated despite the look being so funky and retro, and maybe because it's passive, I find it really responsive. It sounds somehow both familiar and unlike anything that I've heard before. Probably the closest thing I'd use for a comparison is something like a Jack Cassidy, but this has way more personality, much more presence in the mids, and of course you could make it sound a bunch of different ways with all of these switches. When I was describing the tone of this bass to a friend of mine, I said it already sounds mixed. It almost sounds compressed, and it feels like it's just gonna set exactly where you need it to in a mix without taking up too much extra space. So far, the all-in setting is my favorite. I feel like that brings the most personality out of this thing, but there's something functionally unusual at just about every setting. I didn't find myself reaching for the EQ all that much because even that first treble roll-off is pretty significant. Maybe that's something you'd use if you had round wound strings and you wanted to get some of the clack and clatter of your strings out. Even the mid-scoop button I found pretty subtle, and I was happiest with the tone just being flat. The name Acinonyx is actually the genus name for the cheetah, and it's both a nod to the Goya panther that served as the inspiration for this bass, and it's also kind of a nerdy flex, as if to say this is updated, sleeker, and faster. I like the buttons as opposed to knobs. I kind of like the idea of like, here are your settings, deal with it. That also kind of has big cat energy. That being said, there are I think 20 combinations of pickups and tone. No, it's not 20. There are 16 combinations of pickups and tones, so hopefully one of them works for you. In short, full marks, I love this thing. It's so much vibe and so much usable tone, and it's made really, really well. It retails for less than $1,000. It weighs less than 7 pounds. Between the scale and the string spacing and the weight, it's just comfy. You take this bass out of that case at a gig and you are gonna attract attention, and thankfully, this has the feel, the tone, and the comfort and the construction to back it up. I am not a cat person, but I am a cat person. This has been the Nordstrand Acinonyx. I have been Amos. You have been amazing. Toodles.